New story out. It turns out they claim Mike Flynn didn't even want to be national security advisor, but Donald Trump asked him to do it. Now, there is another twist in this story that is very important to what's happening today. So let me tell you what it is from the top. The Daily Beast is reporting President Donald Trump pressured a reluctant Michael Flynn into accepting a job as the White House top national security official, even after Flynn warned the president that he was under investigation over undisclosed lobbying on behalf of a foreign government, the Daily Beast has learned. Okay, this partly goes to Trump's stupidity. Are you kidding me? That's toxic. Why the hell would you put him in charge of the national security apparatus? Okay, Michael Ledeen, the lawyer, the co-author of Flynn's The Field of Flight, says, so he's a good associate and friend of Mike Flynn. He says he did not want to be national security advisor. He didn't want to be in the government. He wanted to go back to private life, but Trump insisted on it. Now look, everybody's got their own interest here, and they might be trying to protect Flynn, his friends here. And are they going to throw Trump under the bus to make that happen? Maybe. And boy, Mike Flynn knows a lot of things about Donald Trump. That could get interesting. So they continue. Trump's pressuring of Flynn to take the job came even though Flynn had informed the Trump transition team that he was under active FBI investigation over undisclosed lobbying on behalf of a Dutch company, lobbying that Flynn now admits may have advanced the interests of the Turkish government. Okay, there's more to this story, but if we just stopped here, it was monumentally stupid of Donald Trump to hear all that and go, oh, okay, come into my administration anyway. Be my national security advisor, one of the most important jobs in the government. Yeah, you want to work for a foreign government while being one of the most important guys that decide what we're going to do with foreign policy and our national security? Yeah, come on in, Mike. Okay. The president's continued loyalties to his ousted former aide is so strong, in fact, that the two have remained in touch despite the potential that their communication could be portrayed as White House interference in a federal investigation. What? He's calling Mike Flynn? That's insane. And as usual, incredibly stupid. Well, that could open you up to another crime, actually a host of crimes, including witness tampering. I thought, and it was Daily Beast reporting from last week, as I'm going to tell you in a sec, that they had talked him out of it. Apparently it's not, they didn't talk him out of it. He called Flynn anyway. Trump's White House attorneys warned him repeatedly against communicating with Flynn after his firing. As usual, the knucklehead didn't listen to his attorneys. The two have stayed in touch, according to a Yahoo News report Thursday, confirmed by multiple White House and administration sources. And Daily Beast then talked to other White House officials. They also confirmed it. He's talking to Flynn. A disastrous and possibly illegal idea, okay? News that they remained in touch flatly contradicts repeated and adamant White House denials last week that Trump and his former national security advisor had been communicating since Flynn's ouster. So they denied it. No, they're not communicating. As usual, it was a lie. As usual, they now, I don't know if it's the Flynn guys that are outing him, it's people who are working against Trump's interests. I don't know what it is, or if it's just Trump being stupid as usual. Now they say, oh yeah, we were lying. He's been talking to Flynn the whole time. Even if you wanted to cover up your crimes, why would you be that stupid and admit it? Maybe they realize, oh yeah, when I call Flynn, the FBI knows. I guess I should admit it in public now. Is there no end to this man's idiocy? Okay. But Trump doesn't just hope that Flynn will beat the rap. Several sources close to Flynn and to the administration tell the Daily Beast that Trump has expressed his hopes that a resolution of the FBI's investigation in Flynn's favor might allow Flynn to rejoin the White House in some capacity. A scenario some of Trump's closest advisors in and outside the West Wing have assured him absolutely should not happen. Those sources said Trump didn't believe Flynn should be under investigation in the first place. What? You're gonna bring him back into the government? We just found out today that Flynn got paid $530,000 by people associated with the Turkish government and changed his position completely from being against the Turkish government to being in favor of the Turkish government and helped the Turkish government make sure that we did not arm Kurdish fighters that would fight against ISIS. You'd bring that guy back into the White House? Just when you think he can't get any more mental, he does. But wait. There's one other thing here other than stupidity. Mike, I know the things that you know. Don't worry, Mike, don't say anything. I'm gonna look out for you later. Don't worry, Mike, there's jobs in it for you. Don't let the FBI scare you. Don't let Mikey, I'll bring you back in. We will bring you back to the White House. Everything's gonna be fine. A White House official says, this one appears to be friendly to Trump. Trump feels really bad about firing him, and he genuinely thinks if the investigation is over, Flynn can come back. Yeah, Flinny boy, of course, we're gonna take you back. We're gonna go back to the way we were. We're gonna make a lot of money together. Don't talk to the feds, don't be a rat, Mikey. Don't worry, we'll take care of you, Mikey. Mark Zed, a national security attorney, says, the last thing the White House would want is an allegation of conspiracy, witness tampering, or coordination. If Flynn is going to be indicted, or certainly under investigation, then I would want the president to be as far away from him as possible. So you got possible charges of conspiracy, witness tampering, and coordination with that said witness. And you're gonna risk all that. Why would you do that? There's only two possible answers. He's the world's dumbest man, which is entirely possible. Or he thinks, Mike, don't say anything, don't say anything, don't say anything, don't worry. We'll get you paid afterwards. You know how the Turks paid you off? Now we'll pay you off. We got your back, Mike. Whatever you do, don't say anything to the feds. Is this a good idea? Well, Brad Moss, a law partner, says, talking with witnesses got Nixon in trouble. Hey, what happened with Nixon anyway? Oh, right, he resigned when they were set to impeach him. Just saying. Young Turks now has over 6 billion lifetime views. You know who did that? You did that. We're now larger than CNN, ABC, you name a news network online, we're larger than them. And you built all that as everyone scoffed and didn't believe. And here we are, guys, thanks to you. Build independent media together with us at tytnetwork.com/join.